Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously, welcome back to the show. Today's episode 212 of the show, and before we get started, I'm going to do a house cleaning quick because, well, you guys like that we do the house cleaning around here, so it only makes sense to do it, so let's just get on with the house cleaning. I do want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening to today's episode. It does mean a lot to me. You guys constantly take time every day to download these episodes, to share these episodes, to constantly keep letting me know how you feel, whether you like my stupid face or not. Even though, yes, my dear viewers or listeners, we're doing, well, mostly an audio version. So if you're watching this on YouTube, then you get to see the background of the topic. You don't get to see my beautiful face this time. School has just been a little bit wild, but we'll talk about that near the end. However, thank you to everyone that's constantly downloading these episodes, for sharing them, for also picking the topics on social media. This topic won by a landslide, even though I did want to talk about the other one, but I do also want to talk about this one since it's been brewing for a while and I've just wanted to talk about it, and really just after some recent developments, it only makes sense that we talk about it a little bit more. But thank you to the Patreon backers as well for supporting the show. But let's get on with today's episode. Now that we got all that stuff wrapped up, what exactly are we talking about today? And, maybe it's just me, or maybe, who knows, maybe you've been living under a rock. Maybe you've heard of this lovely game that came out recently called Gran Turismo 7. Everyone was excited for this game when it was originally announced with the PS5. Everyone was like, oh yeah, bro, Sony, bro, they're going to kill Microsoft and Horizon, bro. This game is the Horizon killer, bro. And while, yes, I haven't played the game, but based on what I've seen in terms of mechanics and in terms of the overall, like the actual experience itself playing the game, it has been a very positive experience. A lot of people enjoy the mechanics. They like how the game looks. They like how the game feels. They like, well, driving the cars, because that's essentially what it is. It's just a car simulator. However, as time has gone on, and specifically with this game, yeah, they kind of dropped the ball with this one a little bit. And Polyphony, the studio that made the game, Polyphony Games, the original way that this story went, before we add the updated part, was that the game that the reviewers got to play was not the exact same game that everyone else got to play. The game that the reviewers got to play didn't really have all the microtransactions, or at least the most egregious parts of it. And then when it finally was available for everyone else to play, it was littered, and still is littered, by super, super egregious microtransactions, where people were doing the math and they were comparing how the price jump from buying a car from the previous games to buying them now is almost an 8 times difference. Essentially going from $5 up to $40 to buy these cars, or very specific cars, more of the high-end luxury cars. And some luxury cars, especially the special edition models or the special, like, high-class cars, do go for, yeah, a lot of credits, and it kind of pushes $100 in price value. And the rationale that Polyphony Games gave was that they wanted it to simulate real life car culture. And this has sparked multiple controversies online, especially because, well, you play a car simulator not to replicate car culture. You kind of want to replicate the good parts of it, and, like, embracing that fantasy, that power fantasy, because that's the same thing with, like, MMOs, like having a power fantasy and just really getting to express yourself and just, feel like you have all this power. And in the case of car games, yeah, you want to be able to drive, or at least get a semblance of the experience of driving cars that you'll honestly never own in your life, because let's be real, most of us are not multi-billionaires that just have money to throw around like that to buy some of these cars. So the fact that their rationale was that they wanted to have that, how would you say, they wanted to replicate that part of car culture in real life, when in reality, that's kind of one of the worst parts of car culture in real life. It doesn't help that the game also went offline for 30 hours and it was completely unplayable. And at the same time, it doesn't help that they also nerfed a lot of the credit earned in the game. The microtransactions were still extremely high. They had originally had a cap that was undisclosed. They had a cap on the amount of credits that you can earn, not the ones you could buy. And at the same time, you weren't able to sell cars. So if you got a lot of duplicate cars, you weren't able to sell them. So, because if you sold them, then you'd be able to get credits much easier. Overall, they had made the grind in the game just agonizingly terrible. But in regards to all of that, the main overarching issue that can be debated here is, well, the fact that the game was completely offline for 30 hours. The fact that the game that people had purchased could not work unless it was connected to the internet. And because the servers were down, well, the game was essentially unplayable. You couldn't really play the game. You couldn't really enjoy the experience of the game. And this is an issue regarding DRM that a lot of people have been very, very vocal about in the industry, that people have been talking about, that it's just one of the most egregious things that's currently in the gaming industry. It's one of the most unpopular trends in the gaming space right now. The fact that there always needs to be that everything always has to be connected to the internet, or the idea of like the Internet of Things, where everything has to just be connected to the internet. And for video games, it's very concerning, especially as we move towards this digital era, as we move towards this more focus on digital gaming, focus more on cloud gaming, as we focus more on relying on the internet to update our games, to, I'd say, make them work. And that's concerning, especially when you look at how gaming was before, where everything was on the cartridge. You didn't have to download anything. If anything, you would just download stuff to get like downloadable content, not really the full game or updates to said game or patches for said game, because the way it used to work back in the day, which makes me sound old, even though I don't even remember this stuff, that back in the day, people talked about how games, if they wanted to fix a bug or if they wanted to update them, they would just make a new version of the game itself, and then, well, you'd have to buy it again. And I see why the benefits of having this digital era makes sense, due to the fact that it's just easier to push out fixes, easier to push out update. However, we have to be mindful that not everyone has access to the internet. As crazy as that sounds, some people might think, oh, Josh, you're crazy. I'm like, no, it's realistic. Not everyone has the access to the internet. Not everyone can afford to have good internet, or even internet in general. Like, you guys have to realize that you can't be that closed-minded to think that it's just a natural thing that everyone has internet, that, I can't imagine somebody not having internet. It's like trying to say like, oh, like when I was in high school and I was like, oh, I don't have a smartphone, but all my friends had smartphones, and like, yeah, bro, you're just so behind, man. And it's like, well, not really. It's this idea that, well, yes, times are changing. There's still some things that need to catch up and be addressed. And to be honest, this is one of the scarier trends in video gaming right now. The fact that everything always has to be online, that consoles have to be always online, the fact that these games can go down at any moment, that a server can just go down and it would just literally mess up everyone's experience. And it kind of almost seems like this is planned obsolete. Like, you're essentially planning when this thing is going to be obsolete, because once the servers go down, well, then the whole game goes with it. In the case of Gran Turismo 7, the game is designed to be a live service, so when they don't want to pump more money into it and they feel like, okay, this game's reached the end of its lifespan, well, then it's just a nice paperweight. Then you can't really do much with it. And when it comes specifically to Gran Turismo 7, yes, we acknowledge that the decisions made by the developers were very, 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 very piss poor. Like, I don't think there's anybody that can try arguing with me or try to be a justifier for Polyphony Games and say that, yeah, bro, they knew what they were doing, that this was the best call. Like, no, homie, this was a terrible call. They shouldn't have made this terrible decision to begin with. Which is even funnier in the grand scheme of things when you think about it, because they literally had to release a statement on the PlayStation blog essentially apologizing and explaining these improvements coming down the line. So I'm going to read that a little bit to you right now. This is from the president of Polyphony Games. I'm just going to call him Yamauchi. I'm going to call this big man Kazu Yamauchi. But essentially, this is what he says. Dear Gran Turismo community, thank you for your continued support and feedback on Gran Turismo 7. Your voices have not gone unheard. I would like to apologize for the frustration and confusion caused last week with our patches, which resulted in not only a server outage, but also adjustments to the in-game economy, which were made without a clear explanation to our community. You don't say, Sherlock Holmes. Like, not being mean, but I'm just like, yeah, you didn't really explain jack squat, so get on with it. We know that this is not the Gran Turismo experience you expect, and we will be making a goodwill gesture in the form of a non-paid credit back of 1 million CR. That's already this, like, to me, that's so stupid. Like, okay, cool, you get 1 million credits. Doesn't really fix the issues that people have been talking about with DRN. Doesn't fix the issues with always being online. Certainly doesn't fix a lot of other issues, which we'll mention here shortly. That, available to those players who may have been affected. You will see a hit in your account shortly. Make sure you are logged in on the game before April 25th to claim your credits. Here's the big kicking part, the big part that's actually very interesting. The patch notes updated. The patch update previously deployed was intended to rectify an issue with inconsistent rewards payouts with a part of the World Circuit events, but to reestablish the intended equilibrium and provide more accurate rewards based on the time investment and completion, it was necessary to recalculate the rewards as a whole. To improve the player experience, we will be rolling out a considerable patch in the beginning of April. The number of events will be increased, and we will have reestablished the reward system with greater balance throughout the game to benefit all players. And this is what they mentioned essentially was increase rewards and events in the later half of the World Circuits by approximately 100% on stages, addition of high rewards for clearing the circuit on all gold / all bronze, the increase of rewards in online races, the increased total of 8 new 1-hour endurance races to race to missions. These will also have higher reward settings. The increase the upper limit of non-paid credits in, oh my god, this is so stupid. The non-paid credits in players' wallets from 20 million to 10 million. To me, I get it. Not that many people talked about it. That bothered me heavily. The fact that there's even a cap for purchase, like there was a cap for unpurchased credits, but for unpurchased or for purchased credits, there is no cap. And I just always found that incredibly stupid. They also said that they increased the quality of used and legend cars offered at any time of the game. This is it's one of those things where it's just an Beyond this, there will be a few additional patches deployed between now and the end of April, which will add new cars and, of course, layouts and make some other fixes. These are some of the fixes that they wanted to talk about. They can't commit to a specific day or specific time, but this is what they're planning on working on. Increase the payout volume of limited time rewards as we develop a live service. It's kind of funny that you're starting to backpedal a little bit, but okay. Further World Circuit event auditions of endurance races to missions, including 24-hour races, addition of online time trials, and awarding of rewards according to the player's differences with the top and ranked time. Make it so cars can be sold. And this is the concluding paragraph. We want to thank you for your continued patience and valuable feedback as we grow and evolve GT7 to make it as enjoyable and as rewarding for as many players as possible. We always want to keep communication lines open with our community so that we can work together to build the best racing experience possible. Man, you want to talk about a bunch of hogwash? I don't on some levels, there probably is some truth in there. Like that he felt bad that they, learned from their mistakes. I'm willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. But we also have to realize when it comes to companies, them telling the truth is really, really low, bro. Just being objectively honest with you, I don't trust them. I get it. I think it's great that they're starting to implement some of these changes, and I think they're great quality of life changes. I just feel like it's still a little bit too late in this sense, especially given the fact that this should have been good from the jump. There's no excuse that, selling cars should have been in the game from the get-go. There's no excuse that this monetization method just doesn't work. It really wasn't popular. A lot of people didn't enjoy it. So it just makes sense that they just go on. Like, it just really is stupid. To me, man, it's one of those things where I'm like, it's so sad that, as many people have probably talked about before me, that the idea that a company like this has an amazing reputation with consumers, has an amazing, great reputation, essentially does. That's really all they got going for them. They make great games, like Polyphony, like with the other Gran Turismos, they are great. It's so sad that they gave it all up just to milk people dry of more money. I just feel like that's very insulting. I feel like that's very disrespectful to consumers. But this also ties in with this idea of DRM just not being a good thing. The fact that you have prominent figures, the fact that you have developers, that you have so many people talking about how DRM is just so dog and that it's just not good for the gaming space, because essentially if the servers go down, your game's dead. Like, if the servers go down, the game's dead. It's like that disc means absolutely nothing. It's literally just a coffee stand or a coaster. I know that's the proper term for it. To me, it's just interesting. It's interesting to see all of this. If I'm being just completely honest and transparent, that's just how I view it. I think it's stupid. I think it doesn't make any logical sense. I think it's one of those things where it's kind of sad because the user score is so low for Gran Turismo 7 right now. It's like 1.6, 1.7. Do I think they can recover? Maybe. But I think it just really depends. And I think we just have to wait and see for the long term to see what happens here. But that's really all I got. I wanted to just give a brief update, but also some of my thoughts on the thing with Gran Turismo. Truly, this game does look great. I think this game looks great. I think it runs great. I think it's just sad that it got plagued by one of the most disgusting aspects in the video game industry, to be honest. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, whether you like my stupid opinions or not. As always, if you like this video, leave a like, leave a dislike. If you want to keep seeing my beautiful face, then you could just, click the subscribe button or just keep downloading these and sharing these episodes, and you'll be able to see me easily. Or if you follow me on social media, then you just always get to see my face. But to be honest with you guys just a little bit, classes have definitely just been crazy. There's just so much paperwork, so much stuff to get ready, so much to do, and it just feels like there's very little time. However, we always make time, bud. We always find a way. I thank you guys so much for your love, your patience, your support with me. Because like I said, this stuff's not easy, guys. Like, I do this all by myself. It's not easy, but it's still fun. It's still rewarding, and it's still, it's just something I enjoy doing, to be honest. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you guys again for your love and support. If you really like this episode, download it, share it. Let me know how you feel. Or comment down below, like, and share it. Yeah, man, I'm really losing my head a little. Not gonna lie, I feel like I'm going crazy on some levels. But thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Continue to take care of those around you. Continue to be kind and courteous and love on people. Be there for everyone, guys. Like, the world is still a weird place. That's the best thing we can do, is just be there for people that we genuinely care about. All right, guys, but that's all I got for you. So I hope this episode was hopeful and enjoying. And as always, don't do anything dumb. I love you guys to absolute death. I love you guys to absolute death and back. Especially because without you guys, I can't do any of this. But I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.